2017 four-man bobsleigh World Championship continues at Königssee in Bavaria. Hello everybody, welcome to the Deutsche Post Ice Arena for the first day's action from the BMW IBSF four-man Worlds. We're getting ready for the start of Heat 2, where we run 20 down to 1 and then the remaining 14 sleds. I'm Martin Haven, alongside me John Morgan, and John, what an epic race is shaping up already.
Yeah, last year's champion, Oscar Melbartis, he started late in the heat, 17th, because he missed a couple races this year. He's hurt. He had the track record at the start. He retook it from the Germans who broke it in the earlier part of the heat. He put himself in a bronze medal position. Don't count this force out. Next up, Francisco Friedrich. Well, last year he should have won the four-man World Championships. He was leading after 3 heats, faltered in the 4th heat to Melbartis, who we just saw, but he won 4 straight two-man championships. He's never won a double gold, 2- and 4-man title. This might be the race weekend that he doesn't. Now, Team Lochner. Wow! This young kid who lives right down the street a mile away, his family, friends, everybody's here. He got disqualified in the last race at Innsbruck, but no DQ here today. Track record at the bottom of the track. He's the leader, 1 heat down to 4, and boy, do we have a race going on.
Look how close it is. 1300s first to second, another 1300s takes you down to 9th place, 0.3 of a second covering the top 10. Honestly, any and all of those top 10, 11 drivers maybe could be in the top half dozen. And right now, we've got 9 or 10 names in a hat. We're going to toss them up in the air, and one loose run from any of those top 10 is going to count them out. And this is really where you're going to make the moves in the second heat. If you don't, then you are going to be left behind by the field. 34 sleds started the first heat, and all 34 get to go again in Heat 2. And then we will resume tomorrow on Sunday for the 3rd and 4th heats to decide the Worlds. There's Francesco Friedrich, 4-time two-man world champion, junior four-man world champion as well. And there's Johannes Lochner, the man who leads this field. Torsten Margus and Francesco Friedrich, they've just won 3 straight together, Friedrich 4 in a row, and there's the defending world champion, and again, you can't possibly rule him out. 1600s is a tiny margin covering the top 3.
And there's Holcomb, driving first time ever driving a foreign sled in his career. He's not far from the medals.
Yeah, he's got a real shot. Bennett Buchmuller, the junior world champion, 20th after the first heat. He'll go off first in our 20 down to 1 group. And then 21st, 22nd, 23rd. Really tight battle going on at the foot of the top 20, as just about everywhere else. But the significance of being 20th overnight is after Heat 3 tomorrow, the field will be cut to the fast 20 sled. So if you're 20th or above overnight, you will sleep a little easier. So for Rudy Rinaldi, Nick Polignato, Lamin Dean, those 3, they're covered by 200ths of a second. They're all trying to break into that top 20. And Maria Constantin, that's not a mistype. That is the first ever all-female crew in a men's World Championships. Junior four-man world champion Bennett Buchmuller from Germany, the 25-year-old former brakeman, has been driving now almost for 3 seasons, won the Junior Worlds 3 weeks ago in Winterberg, Germany, and earned himself a spot in the senior field.
8, very impressive, 8th best start. No, I take that back.
17 fastest, 44. Oh, he shakes his head. 485, another 485 start for them.
17th best start, excuse me, the first team.
Start handle dragged along the wall there.
That's going to cost him, but you know, he's the 4th German sled in the race. The reason? Because he won the Junior World Championships, and the team that wins the Junior Worlds gets an extra sled in the World Championships. Not true at the Olympics, though.
115.7, 71.9 miles an hour. Now that's quicker than we saw from quite a few of the sleds in the earlier heat. It's a little colder, the track will be harder and faster, and will hold that speed longer in the run.
124.6, keep your eyes on that uphill section of the track. Really, really important.
48.98, he came down 48.91 in the first heat, so 700ths of a second. Don't forget, 20th after the first heat, the guys behind are within a few hundredths of him. He'll be a little disappointed with that run, But the friends and family are all here.
Okay, the start, well, it drops off here pretty quick, so you want to get in with the cat-like efficiency, like I always bring up, and then you want to sit down and nestle yourself in, but somehow here he drifts away, and oh, tell me that doesn't deal with hundredths of seconds. That was a mistake by the driver.
Two sleds behind him, within 200ths of a second, vying for 20th. Bennett Buchmuller goes into the leader's box. Next up is Chris Spring. Spring was 700ths quicker than Buchmuller after the first of 4 heats, with Cam Stones, Josh Kirkpatrick, and Neville Wright. Wright returning to bobsledding after 2 years away to finish his college education, his physio training.
What a good week he had last week with Nick Polinato when they finished 5th out of nowhere, probably a 100-to-1 shot for the top 5, and they pulled it off. And Springer had a bad start drop, 18th in the first run, 484 start. They should match that or get better. Okay, this is a little different than most tracks like we just saw in Innsbruck a couple weeks ago. In, down quickly, 84, 80, whoa, that's an improvement. Big, hard take-on hit in the first curve though, 57.8. Keep track of that start velocity. I'll be referencing that a lot.
Half a mile an hour quicker than Buchmuller, the German.
But Buchmuller, the German, his push bar came down on the wall.
Yeah. Little correction of a slide as he came out of S4 and onto the straight. 1:16.8. A half a mile an hour faster than the German driver as well. Now he is looking to move up the order. This is moving day. The second heat is the one where you can really try and capitalize if you're brave and hang it out for speed.
This is one of the better drivers that's late in the field. He gets fresh ice to work with in this run. 48.74, 10 hundredths better than he had in the first run.
And that would have left him 15th, not 19th in the first heat.
But he also had a 400ths better start. So 400ths at the top, we always say, is equal to 1200ths at the bottom. So pretty equal considering the start was so much better in the second run. The exit here of the S's, the first nemesis part of the track. Looking to try and get control with that steering, and he sort of takes that big sport utility and takes it out of the skid. Pretty good heat for the Springer.
You see a smile on his face. He moves into the leader's box. USA's Nick Cunningham, the third of 3 US sleds in the top 20 after the first of 4 heats of this 4-man bobsleigh World Championships. Returning to the top flight after a season racing exclusively in North America this year. With Frank Del Duca, Adrian Adams and Chris Kinney, this crew feel they've got something to prove. And off a 20-second start draw, they had a good, solid first run.
21st best start though. They're gonna need to improve on that. 488, so knowing what the Canadians just did, they should go 486, 485, 49. They went worse. Start though, look at the velocity. 3rd best velocity of 3 sleds. This is the night train too. Cody Bascu's been driving all year. Cunningham replaced Bascu because he had higher points on the world ranking. And this sled won the 4-man race here in January of 2014, a couple weeks before the Olympic Games in Sochi.
Well, that was a good run down the straight, 1:16.0. Half a kilometre an hour down in terms of pace, 900s behind Chris Spring of Canada.
That's relative to the start deficiency they had to the Canadian sled. And he hit there again.
Coming
500s back.
Back to 500s, could take it at the line.
No, that little bang at the end, that's what cost him. Uphill section out of the Ecovon. It goes uphill for the last 150, 180 meters of the track. I call it a graveyard section of the track. Cunningham made a pretty fatal mistake there. He knows it. Plus the start. Pretty tough to be competitive when you got the 21st best start. These are not bad lines out of the S's. In fact, it's pretty clean. Here in the Ecovon, watch this. This is, TV doesn't show it, but it's really severe uphill. And when you're going uphill in a gravity sport, you hit the sidewall, that's really putting the brakes on.
Great view inside the bobsled of the Czech Republic's Jan Verber. These sleds built for speed, not comfort. No seats, no cushioning, no padding. just bare carbon fiber and steel. Werber and his team, 11th fastest starters. Really good getaway from them in the first heat. 17th place. 500ths of a second in hand. Beg your pardon, 700ths over Chris Spring, the current leader.
Decent start, 83 in the first row, 11th. Boy, the number 3 guy ran a long ways there. Matched their start time. Let's see what the velocity is. Second best velocity. So, that's good.
100th of a second in the lead.
Experienced pilot. 10th place in the World Championships a couple years ago.
And that's cost him the lead. He'll be in the red numbers by the time they get to the Kreisel.
117.3 is excellent speed, though. This is that veteran pilot. If he gets a good exit here, slingshot onto the bottom, and this looks like that's what he's going to do.
Well, that skidding down the bend away didn't hurt him as much as it might have done. A Bruno Mijon cowed sled. It should be very quick at the bottom.
Best speed.
78.4 miles an hour across the line. 48.70, 700ths of a second quicker than his first heat.
Well, the experience showed there. And he's got him a decent start. You know, anytime you get middle of the field, 11, 12 best start, you have a chance. This is the slingshot from the Kreisel down through this real danger part of the track where, I mean, you can just throw away so much time. Look at the way this back end of the sled skidding, 75 miles an hour, 4 G's of force. Not a lot of room for air.
Austria's young Markus Treichel, his first World Championships in the front seat of a 4-man. A year ago in Innsbruck, his home track, he was a brakeman for Jakob Kolb. Now he's in the front seat himself.
Sure, he's surprised. His coaches, his parents are here, and just saw them. Well, he started early. Big advantage. 4th guy down the track. 490, 5th best start. So deficiency 5th best.
Well, they were only 24th out of 34 sleds at the start in the first heat, and that's where he loses some time. But he's certainly got good driving ability.
Look at these lines. This is excellent. Excellent.
It'll be another Wolfgang Stamfer-built sled, and we know that they fly. They're forgiving on their drivers and fast, which is a beautiful combination if you can make it work.
He's holding on, 11 to 1100. That's a good sign. If he's clean here in this exit of Ecovand, he's a chance maybe to only drop 1 spot. 1000s, he's coming back. Yep. This kid is impressive.
He'll be behind Jan Werber, but in front of Chris Spring. Jan Werber's team move up a little bit, but Manfred Meyer on the right, the head coach of the Austrian team, I'm sure has a lot of time for Markus Treichel. They've got a star in young Benny Meyer, and Markus Treichel is fast catching him. Well, the Austrian girls who competed last week are helping with the sleds this weekend, just like the boys did for them last week.
It hasn't been too many, been a decade before we've had 2 Austrian sleds like this. Yeah. Maybe 6, 8 years.
Jan Werber, Markus Treichel, Chris Spring, the top 3, 5 sleds down. 4-man World Championship debutant Justin Olsen, with Austin Landis, Evan Weinstock and Sam Mitchener behind him. 5th fastest starters, and Olsen had a good tight drive to bring the sled down in 15th place. This is towards the end of his 2nd year as a driver. And Jan Werber, 3rd from the left there, and his team in the leader's box.
This is the Night Train 1 that won the Olympic gold medal in 2010. Olsen was a member of the team as the rider on that Steve Holcomb Night Train gold medal sled.
I know another of his teammates, Steve Messler, will be watching back home in the US with everybody else and looking for a big result. They were only 600ths in front.
79 start again, wow.
Yeah, great start.
2nd best velocity though, compared to the, I think it was Weber. Olsen has problems getting out of the S-curves coming up right here. Not bad. 1300's lead, that's our relative to the start.
Let's talk about what experience does for him. 3 weeks ago in the four-man race, his first World Cup race on this track as a driver, he was 26th. 3 weeks later, he's up to 15th in the first of 4 heats.
A little early there in the C curve. Let's see if he can keep it straight here on the exit. Not bad, 14, he's pulling away, 4th best speed. This is pretty good for Justin Olson.
Good
Great,
run,
48.61, 1100's better. This big hope from this athlete because he's such a good starter. He has the top 5. If you have a top 5 start, you have a chance to get into that podium on a consistent basis. Big hope for the United States here, Justin Olson.
Olson happy with that one. So he will be no worse than 15th.
This has been his nemesis part of the track, getting out of these S's. He's done pretty good. Now let's watch the leader, which
Verber's the blue sled. Olson just behind him on the overlay.
Verber was a slower start by
Yeah,
400.
Verber gets a couple of skids there, and look, Olson's creeping up. It's only a foot or so difference.
Learning
So
experience.
that's about 100
Justin.
meters you're looking at. Justin Olson of the USA leads as Loic Kosterg of France comes to the ice. 14th after the first of our 4 heats. Too many F's in that sentence for my liking. And the Frenchman, another one, with Vincent Castel, Yanis Pujard and Jeremy Bouterin. A Bruno Mijon-built sled.
The 25th best start time in the first run, and he started 20th. Good heat here. He could move up. He's got 100th of a lead on Olson, but he's going to need a better than a 492 start.
And he's only 100th behind the sled in front of him. Brad Hall of Great Britain, 491. Well, he gives away 1200ths to Olson before he even sits down.
But this guy, he's got a signature finding speed on the bottom because he's a great pilot. He's got a great piece of equipment. And look at that clean exit. He's 2700ths back. That's going to be tough to overcome.
13th in last year's four-man World Championship at Innsbruck in Austria, 1:16.2, 7/10 of a mile an hour down, 2 kilometers down on the American sled. Gaps widening. It's going away. He's going to lose 4 or 5 spots at the moment. This is definitely not the run he needed.
2500ths back. Wow.
Up to 4th place and at the line 3rd. So he salvaged something, but Olson moves up. 3rd best speed at the bottom. That's the Bruno Mijon bodywork. That's what he does, Mijon, somehow.
But the dog is always good as its master. This guy here is one of the best masters we have out here. He just gives up so much time at the start. And the lines here, look how quiet he negotiates his sled. Look at that. Look at the front runner.
He's a long way right there, wasn't he? Really way out to the right. Haven't seen that line from anyone. Maybe that's what gave him the speed at the bottom. Great Britain's Bradley Hall, 28 start draw for this young man who's been among the top 3 in almost every training run, with Joel Fearon, Bruce Tasker and Greg Cackett. Like Justin Olson, he's been a 4-man brakeman. In fact, he was in last year's World Championships in the 4-man, pushing for John Jackson. So I know Jacko is watching back home. I'm sure he, along with everybody else, will be wishing Brad Hall a lot of good luck. Gashed his right hand, severed all 4 tendons on the back of his right hand before Christmas in a little mishap in training. Not a bad crash or anything, just somehow gouged his hand on the sled, and he's still having trouble even closing his fist. But boy, as a 4-man debutant, you wouldn't know it from the way he drives.
Well, it's easy to drive when you got the 4th best start like this his team gave him. 479, that's 100th off. Let's see their velocity, only the 5th best velocity. So, but these guys have been shuffling crews back and forth. But Brad Hall, injuries early part of the year, like you mentioned, severed the tendons on his hand and accidents in Whistler. He's come back to be very respectable here late in the year.
2 World Cup races in 4-man this season. 18th in Eagles 2 weeks ago. He was 12th.
Watch out for this line. Watch out!
He's in trouble and he's back. No, he's not. They're gone.
Watch out, that line on the exit of Chrysler. You could see when he came out too late, hit the sidewall. Now, if they finish attack, I don't know if they're going to get across the finish line.
No. Normally here you don't quite get there, and then the sled runs out.
There's the finish line. Run around that next corner.
They need another 20 feet, and they haven't got it.
Second year in a row, the top British sled is canceled out. And there's nobody there to catch it. I don't understand this.
Well, there was a track worker, but he's more of a safety official, and he wasn't aware of what the protocol is. Now the sled will go down to the low point.
Now look at the grooves it's leaving around on the sled, too, or the track.
Well, that's a real shame for Brad Hall, because he had definite top 10 potential.
He was top 5 in practice all week. He would have been the leader. I would have think he would have moved up. Just surprised they didn't catch that sled.
See, all the helmets there. The boys are now pushing against the wall with their heads and backs to try and stop the sled moving.
Well-schooled, well-trained. Stay in the sled. You can get more hurt trying to get out of the sled. Stay in that little cocoon, that little bathtub, and let the sled protect you. Now they got to watch out for the guys getting up. This is when you'll have to check them for concussion protocol. The guy in the yellow is the doctor. He's 6'9". He's the tallest doctor I've ever seen. Now he's going to start grabbing the athlete. Come here, come here.
Don't run
don't
off
go away,
full of
please, come here.
Yeah.
He knows the protocol, but you see the guys, look at him. See, they're walking away.
Yeah.
They got to get them together.
So Greg Cackett out of the back of the sled. You'll see the huge, there's Bruce Tasker with the beard, huge size of him. Drove in a two-man race last week, had a really good weekend.
They're all
Joel
up,
Fearon
but
is
just
out.
so disappointing for Brad Hall. Came out too early. This is just a rookie mistake. Watch him get hit, bounce over the other side, then the lights go out. I mean, but I thought the sled was going to come back up.
Yeah, looked like it was going to be flicked over and
hit the
flicked
sidewall and gets pushed back. Look at these pictures. It's hard to watch this.
Now it comes back, but it's going so sideways, and all the weight of the bodies is now out.
I thought he's back here.
Yeah,
see this?
he was.
The sled's back up.
But then it hits the wall, and the wall rolls it back off again.
I don't know if I've ever seen bobsled crash pictures like this. Look at the way it's going around the curve. Look how close the people are to the action.
Yeah. And the noise that makes.
Hits the left side, pushes him to the right, and it's over. Skeleton sled, you can get away with doing that. Four-man bobsled, 1,400 pounds. It's tough to watch these things.
Huge hit on the wall from all three guys there. And then they roll to the outside of the turn.
He was on pace to be the leader.
All four of them
I would have think
heads.
he would have moved up a couple spots too. He had the fastest start of the heat. 4 great athletes.
Well,
remember this name.
Brad Hall's got definite top 10 potential, no question about it. Another couple of years on ice.
I'm saying better than top 10 next year. There he is. He's a great athlete. There's Bruce Tasker, two-man driver. 4th in the World Championships, Bruce Tasker was last year. Best British finish in 50 years. There's some team support.
Look,
this
they've
crash,
all been over, they've all been crashed. But they're going there to offer their support to Brad Hall, because now he feels dreadful.
Yeah, there's one thing is to crash, but you've got 3 guys behind you.
Yeah.
Don't think that isn't on your mind.
This
Safety of your team.
Justin Olsen in the lead. The guys will be suiting up with their warm clothing. There's a track hold to make sure that the sled is out. The track is okay. There's no big gouges in it. Those long scour marks will remain, because it's going to take track workers an hour or 2 to fill them with slush, freeze it over. We don't have that time in the heat.
The temperature will drop a couple more degrees, you know, where the sun's gone down. There's no more shades, no more sun on the track. Ice will get firmer.
Yep. Colder track is a bad thing for a race car, a better thing for a bobsled. As long as you can deal with the change, and the Germans will be best placed, they'll have the most knowledge to be able to anticipate how the track has changed.
See Johannes Locker's family, friends.
Yeah, all in those bobble hats with the Bavarian colours.
Just saw Rudy Lock. There's Johannes, isn't it the dad there? No.
He'll be further down towards
the side,
right below our commentary positions, actually. Lots of support for Friedrich, lots of support here for Lochner. He is the local boy. Yeah, and of course, Tina Herman in second. Tina Herman in second, and Anna Fernstedt in 4th, both from the Berchtesgaden area in the women's skeleton. Awards were just presented before the start of our second 4-man bobsleigh heat. Title going to Jacqueline Lurling from the Winterberg track. So, was just chatting with the IOC President Thomas Bach earlier, pointing out that 5 of the 6 women who have ever won an Olympic gold medal in skeleton were here today. We got both youth Olympic champions. Jacqueline Lurling won 2012. Ashley Pittaway of Great Britain won in 2016. We got the 2006 Olympic champion, 2010 Olympic champion, and the 2014 Olympic champion, all on the venue. With Justin Olsen, the race leader, we're 2 minutes away from our restart. And the top 12 from the first heat still to come, along with the rest. Now, Vuk Radjenovic, DNS. We didn't know that before. He has pulled out. So maybe one of his guys pulled a hamstring or another muscle, and there will be no Serbian sled. So we are down then to 33 sleds in the field. There's Olsen's crew. Olsen has gone off to find some more warm clothing.
Evan Weinstock on the left, Austin Landis in the middle, Sam Michener on the right. Those guys have been giving Olsen some great starts.
They're now hanging around in the leader's box, perfecting the blue steel look for the camera. And look how busy the track still is. It's Saturday afternoon, beautiful conditions. To the left out of shot, that's the Jena Mountain. We're built along the foot of the Jena Mountain. Right in front of you, that one's called Grünstein. And when the camera pans around from the top, you get this panorama of the little range of mountains that separates us here in Berchtesgaden, Bavaria, from Austria, the other side. That's a fabulous weekend of competition. Big crowd out here, barely a spot to stand. You can see flags of all nations. Predictably, lots of German flags. And if you look for some of the green flags of Saxony, one of them will be being waved by Kathleen Martini.
Very educated crowd here.
And in fact, behind the man in the yellow jacket wearing the blue headband, multiple Olympic and world champion in women's luge, that's Barbara Niedenhuber, another like George Hackle to come from this track and be a standout in the German luge program. Latvia's Oskars Kībermanis to restart the second heat of 4 of the 4-man bobsleigh world championship. Martin Haven, John Morgan trackside in Königssee, Bavaria. Watching the younger of the Latvian stars trying to move himself up from where he is in 12th towards a top 10.
Great start. 4:79, the first run for these multiple decathletes on this sled, including the driver, 22 years old, been driving now for 4 years. Seems like he's been around for 10.
Justin Olsen, the leader, just 0.04 of a second slower than Kībermanis after the first of our 4 heats.
It'll be interesting to see if the gouges in the bottom of the track will slow the track down. We've had a 15-minute delay because of the Brad Hall crash. 1:17.7 is the best speed we've seen in this heat.
Latvian sleds have been very quick down the bottom of the track. 900s though, the gaps come down.
Yeah, they lose time in the bottom part of the track. Mel Bardis, or this Kībermanis did in the first run, but he's pulled away here.
Runs the wall, only 800s in hand. Is he going to be in front? Just by 600s of a second.
Hey, for Kībermanis versus Olsen, the USA will take that. Olsen's first year, first world championship. This is Kībermanis' third. He started driving his first world championships at 19. Breakout season for him. He won the gold medal in St. Moritz, first ever 4-man medal, and then he won 2 World Cup medals in 2-man. But this mistake in the graveyard section of the track, it's going uphill here. No allowance for an error, and this little tap, remember he was 800s ahead, and it dropped, even with that good speed, he dropped to 600s.
And the brakemen very happy with that. A 4:75 start, 100th off the new start record, inside the old start record that we had at lunchtime. Second of 4 heats of the 4-man bobsleigh world championship, and the lid is starting to come off the pressure cooker. This race is absolutely catching fire. 11th off the first heat, 400s out of the top 10, Russia's Maxim Andronov. He's the third of their sleds. Kazyanov in front of him in 8th. Alexei Stulnev in a 3-way tie for 5th. 200 out of the medals. What can Anjanov do?
Well, 486. Wasn't the best start. Good speed down below, though. 45, so they improved at the start. Let's see if the velocity, 5th best velocity related to the 5th best start. So that works. Now, Russian sleds are good on the bottom part of this track. 2 more of them coming up. This Russian 3 sled would like nothing else better to do than to climb into a top 10 position.
Top speed, just losing out a little to Keibermanis though.
It's coming.
800's in front from the first
this
heat.
is what
Now
the Russian
he's
sleds
creeping
do.
back in.
Perfect on the bottom, 2nd best speed.
And across the line, 1200's up. He opens up the margin a fraction over Keibermanis.
Zubkov likes that. Zubkov, the 2- and 4-man Olympic gold medalist, now president of the Russian Federation. He also won a gold medal in the World Championships on this track in 2011. So 3 Russian sleds, most likely in the top 10, top 11. Look at the lines here. This is Keibermanis in the front, but watch the Russian sled close a little bit. He took 0.2 of a meter less space to come through that curve, and that is probably a couple hundredths of a second.
First 10 sleds down, and the race is being led by Maxim Anjanov. Rico Peter of Switzerland lies in 10th position after the first of 4 heats in a 4-man bobsleigh World Championships, with his favourite brakeman, Alex Baumann, back on the sled at 2 ahead of Seaman Friedli, and the new boy, Michael Cronin, who went in the 2-man race. Bronze medalist last World Championships in Innsbruck in Austria.
485, that's what Rico Peter needed. 200 slower, though, than his first heat, and a drift out of the first curve. 3rd best velocity. That's decent for the time that he had at the start. And the guy who's 2nd in World Cup points has got a skid going. A big one.
Oh, what a horrible run. Said at the beginning of the race, if you make a bad run in the 2nd heat, you're going to be out of contention, and Rico Peter may just be ricing himself out of a top 10 finish. Any chance of a top 6 has surely gone. 1300's back.
Now the exit graveyard, he touches there. He's going to drop 3 or 4 spots.
4 places at the moment behind.
9th best time of the run. Wow. That is disappointing. The Swiss broadcasters next to us, I'm sure, are going to be beating him up. That was not a good run. 6th best start, but the drive off the mark.
That skid as you come out of the S's, that murdered their speed. Look at this.
Okay, he's just trying to keep it going. Look at Andrianov. Now, Peter had better speed. It's hard to, but that speed was on the exit of the S's. By the time he got down here, he had about the 5th worst speed of the heat.
That tap at the beginning of that bend away with the rear bunk just threw him into a fishtailing skid. First 11 sleds down in our top 20. Maxim Anjanov of Russia, the leader. 9 of our top 20 sleds still to come. This is Benimar of Austria. 2700s out of the lead, 200s out of 8, 400s out of the tie for 5th, 500s out of 4th. That's how close our top 10 is.
43, so they should get better. 45, they don't. Velocity, 6th best time, 6th best velocity. That works. You don't want to have a worse velocity than you start. This young pilot has emerged on the scene with some good runs, including a 3rd place in Wittenberg this year.
Well, he really showed potential last year and backed that up with a 5th place in the World Championships on his home track in Innsbruck. Well, this is not far away. So he must have decent ice time here. He's still in the lead over Anjanov of Russia.
It's like good lines. Uphill, a tap. That's
Rico
gonna cost him.
drop back.
Right to the 100th. 3:48.59. There's his father on the left, Manfred, who him and Manfred have him and his son have quite a relationship.
Yeah, quite a fiery relationship.
Yeah. And brought top 10 for Benny Meyer. He's 24. Saw Ingo Appelt, the 1992 Olympic gold medalist for Austria, walking around the track. Nice to see Ingo start here. Well, Ingo Appelt had top 3 start when he won that gold medal in Albertville in '92. And Benny Meyer, you know, he's getting better at the start. 11th best in the first run. Probably about the same in the second run when he's all said and done. And the graveyard of time is the exit of this curve. You can't touch. It's going uphill. Gravity sport. Little tap like that. 700s to 300s at the bottom.
Eighth place in the first of 4 runs in the World Championships for 4-man bobsleigh. Russia's Alexander Kazyanov, our World Cup points leader. Winner in Whistler, silver medal in race 3 in Altenburg, and since then 4th, 8th, 6th here 3 weeks ago, 9th. His season is not going in the correct direction. He needs to turn that around in a hurry.
18th best start. Suspect. World Cup leader.
481 in the first heat, 480 in the second. He's the first sled in 5 who's actually improved on their previous start time.
Take it back, he had the 8th best start in the first run. Take that back, I was looking at his teammate. And, you know, he's the World Cup leader for a reason. He's a good driver. 4th at the Olympic Games in both 2 and 4. And he doesn't want to hear about 8th. He wants to move up, and the speed is excellent.
7 World Cup races this season have had 5 different winners in 4-man.
He's going to have to hustle here at the bottom. Meyer
going behind.
Speed, he's going to find a way. Remember, Meyer tapped down here, but 9th best speed.
Oh,
really surprising.
Could still take it out of the
look at that.
6th fastest run.
Wow. 6th fastest. 3rd, drops 2 spots. He's behind his teammate by 700s. Andrianov, you talk about a race within a race. Andrianov is Russian 3.
And there's still 1 Russian to come. Alexei Stilnev, who's 4 sleds further up the order.
Don't think Mr. Zubkov won't be talking about who's Russia 1, 2, and 3 if Kazyanov does not improve here in the final 2 runs. Little variance there in the Kreisel. Speed was good. The exit looked great. But 100th here. Look how gouged out the track is from that crash by Brad Hall. And look at these compelling pictures on the take-on to, wow.
He was late there. He really had to haul it around Keilstein, and that's where the speed goes. He went in late, came out early. Justin Cripps of Canada with Alex Kopacz, Jesse Lumsden and Lascelles Brown had a great 2-man weekend, and funnily enough, in the 4-man, he finds himself in 5th position after the first heat. 2300s out of the medals, a 3-way tie for 5th. Rather, 2300s out of gold. Only 700s out of the medals.
Alex Kopacz is the new guy to this team. Replacing Josh Kirkpatrick, who's back at Nick Poen or Chris Spring's sled. Start, 6th best velocity, 6th best time at the start. Boy, the athleticism of 15 teams at the start is unbelievable compared to 4 years ago.
Whoa, and that's just what Justin Cripps did not need. But can he carry speed into the Chrysler? 10th up as he came out of the S's. What's he got? 1:16.4, 72.3.
Lost a lot there. We'll see if he can hold on.
Benny Meyer of Austria could move up.
Perfect here in the exit.
Meyer was 400s behind.
200s, right to the 100. 6th best times, not bad.
Could be a tie.
100.
It's 100.
Get ready for tomorrow. That's what this sport is on this track. We're going to have world championship medals separated by hundreds of seconds, as we do in the first heat, as we do here in the second heat.
And don't forget, Cripps in a 3-way tie. Thank you very much. Supporting the Calgary Stampeders, a couple of his brakemen are former Stampeders players.
Exit here of the S's. Real nemesis to the drivers. If you come out too early, you tap. Watch the runners. He's trying to neutralize the skid. Just got to hit the wall, let it go. You know, he didn't let the mistake compound.
Love you. Love everybody at home. Thanks for watching. Love the support.
That's 81?
Yeah.
81 they started, 81 Stephen Holcomb's team started in the first heat as well. Carlo Valdez, James Reed, Sam McGuffey. Reed's family here as ever. They live just up the road in Bavaria. And Holcomb, for the first time ever, in a non-US built sled.
He's finished 100th out of the medals here 3 weeks ago, but he wasn't comfortable in the BMW sled. It's the athlete's choice what they want to drive. He's had 9 trips on the sled. Great start in the first run. 481 again, second run. Holcomb was getting double-digit starts. This is a big improvement by him and his team at the World Championships.
Well, he says this is like going from a truck to a race car. The steering is so sensitive and so unforgiving compared to what he's used to. He said, expect to see me overdriving everywhere until I get used to this.
Speed is excellent. These 300s to the good. You don't see the clocks. We're seeing them on our monitors.
300ths of a second up. He was tied with
he made a big mistake there in the first heat, but this heat he's perfect.
700ths up. He's heading towards trying to get a medal. 1100ths of a second up. 48.51.
He had
came down in 62.
He made a mistake on the exit of Eckelbahn in the first run, put the sled sideways. This run, he's Steve Holcomb-esque, perfect, and drives himself into what I think was a great run.
700s out of the medals in Heat 1.
Watch the
game
exit.
on.
Watch the exit here of these 4 S's. You have the perfect steering. Watch the exit. Watch the runners. Watch the energy of the sled. As good as it gets. This is what Holcomb does.
And bear in mind, every instinct he has of every sled he's ever driven exactly is the opposite of what he needs now.
The Bavarians love Steve Holcomb, and he loves the Bavarians.
Steve Holcomb leads, 5 to go in the top 20. Alexei Stulnev is fast approaching the spot where he is the undisputed lead Russian driver. First heat of 4 in the World Championships. He came down in 5th position.
Tied for 5th with 3 teams.
Yeah, best of his teammates back in 8th spot. And Stulnev off a 14th fastest push.
44. He's going to have to go 42, 43. But he won his first ever World Cup medal. There's the 43. Mission accomplished there. Start speed, though, only 12th. Now, he really flies in the bottom part of the track. He had the similar start here 3 weeks ago. Won his first ever World Cup medal of any kind, a bronze in the 4-man. So you know he's got good talent, but he had a big skid there. Speed. It'll be crucial.
Still
115 speed is way off the pace.
Well, he was just 500s behind Holcomb.
Now he's 14.
Now,
but
he's
I don't
going to lose 4 or 5 spots now. He might be the last of the Russian sleds at the end of this heat instead of the first.
He needs perfect rides every time down. He doesn't have it. 15th best speed.
He's going behind Kazhinov. He was 6 at the line.
He went from Russia 1 to Russia 3. The Russian sleds are 4th, 5th, and 6th now with 4 sleds to go.
In 48.77 seconds, he went from hero to 0.
You don't see him making many mistakes like he did. 4-heat race. There's no throwaways. You got to count them all. He'd love to throw it away, though. Look at the line here. This is Holcomb. He was perfect. Now watch Stroll, though. Look at the back end. The back end's in a skid. And when the back end's in a skid, you know, you can't compound the mistake and try and steer out of it. You just got to hit the wall. He'll know better than anybody.
Top 4 sleds after the first of 4 heats of the World Championships. Nico Walter of Germany, 4th place.
Only 100th of a lead over Holcomb. And Walter had the best start of his season and made a tremendous mistake.
600s out of the medals.
Tremendous mistake down in the bend away that he really beat himself up when he got out of the sled. Unbelievable start, 477. You got Kevin Kuska in there. 4 Olympic gold medals. Kuska having Andre Long. He's still in. He's still competing at about 36 years old at a high level.
481, tying the start of Steve Holcomb, the current race leader.
If he gets straight here out of the S's in this brand new FES sled, this is much better. This is the FES sled. They put all the best equipment in.
100th in front from the first heat. He's now gone behind Holcomb into the Chrysler. 1:16.6, half a mile an hour slower than the US sled.
Still 100 though. He didn't make any mistakes like he did in the first run. He should challenge Holcomb here in the bottom, but Holcomb was perfect.
Can he mine for gold? Here we go, only 6 fastest. Is going to be within the 100th either way. Holcomb has the lead. Holcomb stays in the leader's box with 3 to come. Wow.
I think Holcomb could drive a garbage can. I mean,
Nico Walter, 100th ahead of Holcomb, now 200s behind. This is only the second of 4 heats, don't forget.
well, this is where his problems were in the first run. This time he comes out too early again, doesn't accelerate. Holcomb was straight down the middle of this. He hit hard, but this wasn't as bad as he was in the first run. He was sideways here. This time, just didn't have the start, 400 slower start, and it loses a spot to Holcomb.
Our reigning world champion, Oskars Melbardis, with Damas Dreskens, Arvis Vilkasta and Yanis Strenger. This foursome have been together unbroken for 3 seasons, and coming off back injury and surgery during the summer, Melbardis and Dreskens ended last year with back problems. Just gives his sled a loving pat. Come on, baby.
But last event in Innsbruck 2 weeks ago, he won the gold. And they broke the start record in the first heat at 474. They re-broke it because the Germans broke it earlier than them. It was their start record, they got it back. Let's see what they can do. 473!
You think they want this?
No team has been intact like these guys right here for the last 3 years.
This is like Langer's crew, isn't it, who stayed together and stayed fit for so long. Oh, and a big hit.
Hard hit.
But look at the lead. He's got 2300s over Stephen Holcomb. It was only 700s from the first heat.
He's not worried about Holcomb. He's worried about the other 2 sleds. He wants to challenge for the gold or the silver. He is the defending world champion. He's losing time back.
He was 1600s away from the lead in the first of 4 heats. Where will he be at the line?
Oh, 14, losing more time, 12th best speed. This is going to be single digits.
Wow. He takes the lead from Holcomb.
Holcomb got
800s.
Holcomb's 800s from the 3rd spot. 2 sleds to go. That's not what Melbardis needed. The hard hit out of the 4 S's. Look at him shake his head. That wasn't. He started late the first heat. There's Johannes Lochner.
That's Hans Lochner in the red jacket.
Johannes' dad in the red jacket. But this is the mistake he made here. Watch the hard hit. Bang! Look at the push bar come out. That was a hard hit. Somebody's cheering there.
That rattled a couple of fillings, didn't it?
Yeah, that was too hard a hit for him. And 2300's lead there dropped to 8 by the time he got to the bottom.
Wow. Top 2 sleds after the first heat were both German and both capable of winning in 2 or 4-man. Our 4-time straight 2-man world champion, Francesco Friedrich, 1300s out of the lead.
475, they broke the track record at the start before Melbardis' team. Let's see what they do here. 475 again, consistency. This guy won 4 straight world championships in the 2-man. Last year he had the double gold in Innsbruck in his hands. He won the 2-man. He was the leader after 3 heats in the 4-man. He faltered in the 4th heat. Missed that special double gold opportunity. He can smell that opportunity is back. He needs a good run here.
Wow, how did he tap his way down the straight into the lead? 73.2 miles an hour, fastest of all. Friedrich will take the lead with 1 to go.
I don't know, it was only 600s up.
Speed at the bottom, needs 126 or close, and gets
He's pulled away now.
125.3. Only 10th fastest, but quicker than Melbardis.
Second best, he is first, 48.46. So Melbardis solidly in third. He's got 8 hundredths over Holcomb.
Yeah,
He's
that's
got
not solid.
10 hundredths over Walter. But Friedrich's in the position he was. Well, we'll see what happens next sled.
Yeah.
He was the leader overnight last year, but there's one more formidable German sled yet to come.
Yeah, Johannes Lochner's a year more experienced now and a year less likely to give it away to Francesco Friedrich.
Look at the lines here, Melbardis. Friedrich drifts a little bit there. He's drifting. Melbardis is covers a lot less distance through that curve.
Well, Francesco Friedrich goes into the leader's box with only the fastest sled from the first heat yet to challenge him. And it is the local boy, Johannes Lochner. You saw his dad by the fence. His uncle Rudy, a former world champion, is here as well. 1300's the advantage. Now that must calm any nerves. Doesn't clear up his flu.
Last event out in Innsbruck, he got disqualified for hot runners.
And the one before that in Königssee, oh yeah, that was his third four-man gold medal of the season.
He had one time had won 5 out of 7 2- and 4-man events. Then he got sick. Doesn't get the best start, but 41 in the first run, 8th best start. In, down, mission accomplished. 478, better start,
quicker.
But the 12th best velocity. We'll see if that affects his next clock. Only 500's up. Now, if he is online, he should be 800's up in the next clock. 4, no.
But a better straightaway so far.
That's not good.
Breaks into a little skid.
Watch out for the
This could
speed.
be very
Doesn't
close.
have the speed. He's way down on speed.
Friedrich could have
Be the leader.
1300's not enough for Johannes Lochner. Can he find anything in the final corners of his home track? Will he be the leader overnight?
It's tied to 100. He's coming back.
We could have a dead heat for the lead overnight.
300.
300ths of a second.
Look at Friedrich.
Friedrich. He's taken a 10th out of him.
Friedrich, with all the mistakes Lochner just made, though, the Germans will take that. Listen to the crowd. There's his father right there. There's his father right there in the red jacket.
Das ist das eng. Wenn Sie morgen nicht bei uns sind, verpassen Sie etwas. Das kann ich Ihnen jetzt schon garantieren.
The replay here, you know, his mistake was up above this. This is pretty much the norm line down here. But, you know, he was drifting away red numbers, and he came back at the bottom. Driving a Wallner sled, not the FES sled. Both top German sleds are driving Wallner, first time ever.
Johannes Lochner leads by 300ths of a second. Melbardis third, a 10th back. Holcomb hovering like an eminence grise outside the podium. Could the 2010 Olympic four-man champion snatch another medal here? Wow, what a night to sleep on. And we're still not done, because now the battle to be in the top 20 shapes up. And the man in 19th place, Bennett Buchmuller, might be under pressure. The good news for everybody outside the 20, like Monaco's Rudy Rinaldi, the crash of Brad Hall, who was in the 20, frees up another spot. And these two sleds with Buchmuller, the next two were covered by 200ths of a second. It's not about where you are compared now to Johannes Lochner. It's whether or not you can make your way into the top 20 overnight.
Well, 9,500's back. That's going to be hard to overcome.
4.90 to start, 200ths of a second slower than their first heat, but they are comparing themselves against Bennett Buchmuller of Germany, the junior world champion. And at the moment, he's in 20th place on the split times. Rudy Rinaldi.
Following more back, 107.
Well, he's not going to catch Bennett Buchmuller. Oh, he ties! He does catch him! 48.97, so we now have two sleds essentially at the bottom of the top 20, tied for 19th.
Nice
so you now have to beat them both and bump them out. Or, in fact, if somebody beats them, they'll both be 20th, so we could yet have 21 sleds in the, quote, top 20 overnight.
Exit looked a little late there out of Kreisel, but it didn't affect them. Nice lines down here. Look at the pictures. Now the sled starts to go airborne. Don't think this track was built for these four-man sleds.
Well, 1969, nothing was going this fast, not even a Porsche 911. Well, not a bad-looking run from Rudy Rinaldi, tied for 19th, but the danger behind him is this man. Nick Polignato was 100th behind Rinaldi, 200s out of the 20. Canada's Lyndon Rush with the sled. He's now coaching the team. Todd Hayes there as well, you can see in the black hat, helping out with the driving. And what a weekend Nick Polignato had. Top 10 in the World Championship of two-man, out of the blue. 100th behind Rudy Rinaldi. And if he gets in front of Rinaldi and Buchmuller, he too will be in the top 20, or if he gets in a three-way tie, then that will be another epic result. 18 start, 487. Got to try not to cut the corner off the 1-2 transition in the S's, otherwise you come out a little low from S4. He does, gets in a skid, long skid, and that's going to damage his chances of a top 20 draw overnight. But they go 1 to 33 in the third heat, so he will follow immediately behind the guys who are in the top 20 if he doesn't break in. He was up to 20th at the Kreisel. And at the moment, he will be just behind Rudy Rinaldi of Monaco. In fact, the gap has opened up. It's nearly 0.2 of a second, a 49.28 slide. And that's 2500s, 3000s rather, slower than his first. That's not what he needed. And the skid out of S4, he just cut the corner, tried to straighten it up to prevent the skid, but in the end had to avoid the hit on the wall, and the skid came anyway. And then once it taps, it keeps tapping all the way down the straight. So disappointment for Nick Polignato, but whatever happens in the four-man, the two-man World Championship result he produced was a humdinger. One British sled down and out, Brad Hall. Lamin Dean now trying to find enough speed to threaten a top 20 spot. He was 900s out of the top 20 after the first run. And he could get a couple of those hundreds from the start. The getaway with Ben Simons, John Baines and Andy Matthews was a 487 in the first heat. That was only 20th fastest. Even 100th more, if they can find it, could make a big difference. Bobsleigh's rule of thumb is that 100th at the top is worth 300s at the bottom, all other things being equal. And at 486, they do go 100th of a second quicker. And Lamin Dean knows now that he has a shot at being in the top 20 overnight. Significance of the 20th place will become very crucial at the end of Heat 3, when only the fastest 20 go into Heat 4. Can he make it through? Crashed out in the third heat last year in Innsbruck in Austria while shooting for the medals, and ended up with 22nd place. He'll want to do better. At the moment, not making inroads into the top 20. 22nd on the splits. Now he's in front of Nick Polignato of Canada. Can he catch Buchmuller and Rinaldi at the line? He doesn't, but he is closer. 1500s out, and he might be able to find that in the third heat, which is tomorrow morning. Well, a 49.04 compared to the 49 flat of the first heat, just 400s of a second slower. Good consistent run from Lamin Dean brings him a little closer to a top 20. Little skid out of the S's onto this straight. Perhaps in 1969 on a snowy track with old-fashioned sleds, it was a straight. But when you get out of that S's, you cannot see the track in front. All you see is the walls in that elongated chicane. 24th after the first of our four heats. Clemens Brescia from Switzerland. Roel van der Zijde joins his team. And Brescia making his World Cup debut a few weeks ago. 12th place finish in Innsbruck in Austria, his only four-man race in a World Cup. So let's see what the new Swiss driver can do. He replaces Bert Hefti in the Swiss team. Hefti not driving the four-man. Didn't have a great weekend in the two-man either. Hefti's powers have definitely waned. Brescia out of the start grooves. A little to driver's right, and as a result, dinks right up the wall in turn 1. Or curve 5 as it's known here, because the first 4 corners are on the luge track above the bobsleigh start. Not a bad exit at all from the S's. So where does that put him on the splits? He was 700ths of a second behind Lamindine of Great Britain. And at the moment remains behind Dean and Nick Polignato.
And what you see here now is they're cutting up with a track that's pretty well cut up. They've had a lot of sleds come down, 20+ sleds. And, you know, like an ice skating rink, after a while, they got to bring the Zamboni out. Here, it's 21st best time, so it's a better time. He's 22nd overall.
Yep, so he too, like Lamindine, has jumped Nick Polignato. He remains 700s behind Dean because their times were identical.
Well, you know, making his rookie debut here in the World Championships. Teammate Rico Peter, his teammate, hasn't done very well in the competition, so the Swiss are looking for some kind of positive to come out of these World Championships with, and the Swiss have a great history of doing well on this track.
Rico Peter slumped down to 13th position after being in the top 10 after the first heat. This is Dominik Dvořák of the Czech Republic. His teammate Jan Verber is tied with Rico Peter in 13th position. And Dvořák, who had a great weekend in the two-man, a 10.9 100-meter sprinter, but far less experienced in this four-man sled. Last couple of years he's been a four-man brakeman, not a driver.
So there were some issues there getting in the sled that caused the sled to drift to the right. That's the thing about a four-man start. There's no I in team, especially in the four-man start where such cohesion is needed.
25th place after the first heat. Only 24 sleds have completed the run. Great Britain's Brad Hall crashed out. He was on the verge of a top 10 run.
Boy, that was some airborne into that Kelstein curve. This is another, you know, real rookie four-man driver. Great 6th place finish a couple weeks ago in Innsbruck, and the two-man, his best finish ever in his young career. Look at the number 2-man get up, so that way the number 3 and 4-man can allow the brakeman to put the brakes on. German crowd starting to depart a little bit here, but huge crowd. It's almost like a football stadium here a little bit when the Germans were coming down. Watch the back end here. I saw a lot of air. There it is. All that pressure on the nose. There's once, and then it bounces. He bounced into that curve. Boy, you know, you really can't see that with 150 frames a second. Look at him yarn it off the Kelstein curve into the C curve.
Disappointed with his run, Dominik Dvořák. Not a chance to move up taken. And that leaves him perhaps in danger from behind. Johannes Lochner, our race leader. But for Ivo de Bruin of the Netherlands at the line, it's all about trying to move on up the order. Ivo de Bruin in 26th position, 300ths behind Dominik Dvořák after the first heat. Dvořák, a loose second run has cost him. And Ivo de Bruin's first heat was 1300ths quicker than Dvořák managed in the second, so he's definitely got potential to get in front. Time's been shown versus our race leader, Johannes Lochner.
Well, the exit here for Ivo, crucial. Because when you have a deficient start time like he did in the 26th worst start of the sled, He's a decent driver, we know that. A lot of promise for this young athlete 5 years ago. He's top 3 in the junior worlds.
The Dutch team sort of melted down after 2010 and is taking its time to reform, and a big skid there, and that's going to cost him. 23rd speed, he was looking to overhaul Dominic Dvorak and then slips behind him by 100th of the line.
That bang definitely did him in.
Yeah. And he'll be disappointed when he sees what the margin is, because he should have picked off Dvorak and moved up a spot.
Guy in the yellow behind you there, the mayor of Purchase Garden. Talk about a community supporting their event. Wow. Well, it's an easy curve to exit, right? Graveyard section of the track, you're going uphill, hit like that, it's, you bury your time.
Two Italian sleds next up. The schoolmaster and the pupil. Simone Bertazzo first. He outdrove his teammate Patrick Baumgartner by 11/100ths of a second in the first of the 4 heats in this 4-man bobsleigh World Championships. Well, Baumgartner, like a couple of the drivers in the 4-man championship, has spent the last couple of World Championships as a brakeman in the 4-man competition. Now he steps out of the shadows and out of the sled of Simone Bertazzo to follow him down the ice.
Well, Bertazzo, other than Holcomb, I don't know when Bertazzo's first World Championship appearance was, but I don't know if he was here in 2004. We have to check that out overnight. But Holcomb started in 2004. Holcomb's in 4th. He's just a couple hundredths out of a medal. 800ths out of the medal. Look at this, is good speed. I've come to the conclusion Holcomb could drive anything.
Yeah. Well, and if you gave these guys a 481 start, Bertazzo would be
right there.
15 places higher up the order as well, and that's all part of the equation.
Bertazzo has won World Cup events before. He's medaled in the World Championships in St. Moritz in 2-man in 2007. Twilight of his career.
And yet, 49.09, he comes down a couple of tenths faster than some of his rivals. So he moves up to 23rd spot from where he started the heat, which was 27th.
Yeah, he advanced ahead of both.
24th spot, in fact, yeah, ahead of Dvorak and De Bruyn.
Well, this is as quiet a steering line as you're going to find. It's also because besides Holcomb, he's the most experienced driver in the field. Simone Bertazzo right there. Twilight of his career.
May have one more trip in his final World Championships. Top of the track is the young pretender in the Italian crew, Patrick Baumgartner with Rocco Caruso. Francesco Costa on the crew, very experienced. He's been part of Simone Bertazzo's crew for a number of years. And Lorenzo Bilotti. And Baumgartner's boys just 500 slower at the top, only 1100 slower at the bottom.
And down, good proficiency, they just don't have great starts, 495.
Well, that was closer, that's only 200 slower than Bertazzo's team.
I think this is the Junior World Champion. We have to go check on that, but I think he was the Junior Olympic Champion in 2012 in Innsbruck.
Patrick Baumgartner.
Former skier.
Yeah.
Driving the Pirelli tire sled. Good lines. .159 back.
Your memory is correct. He was the boys' 2-man youth Olympic champion in Innsbruck in 2012, beat Benny Meyer and Rudy Rinaldi. They were the top 3. They're all here in the World Championships this weekend.
Got your internet back working.
No, That's a page I saved from yesterday. I knew it was there somewhere. And in fact, Kimberly Boss is the only one of the women's podium that was competing this weekend, but she's not a bobsledder anymore. She's in skeleton for the Netherlands.
Well, pretty good lines from Baumgartner.
Yeah, didn't catch his teammate, so Potazzo stepped on the gas. Baumgartner slipped away a little. They'll have one more heat.
It's got 800s. He could pick up a couple sleds at Dvorak and De Bruin. A good run in tomorrow.
And not too far behind is a tie between Thomas Heibel of Norway and Dorin Grigore of Romania. Heibel and his crew, including his brother on the back handles, Corbinian, Niklas Haugen and Andreas Björn. Tiny Norwegian team. There's 6 people here. His dad at the back.
Dad, a former bobsledder in the 70s for the West German program. Ooh, big turn in that first curve.
Yeah, you get a little left out of the start grooves and suddenly you're going up the ramp in turn 1 instead of around the shallow part of it on the driver's right. These guys turn up full of excitement and joy to be sliding in the World Cup and in the World Championships. It's a tiny team. Of course, they have their own track back in Lillehammer.
They don't even get on that much.
Well, everybody else uses it for training pre-season. It's iced from October. Gets a lot of use. It'd be great to take the World Cup back there in the next few seasons. Get back onto some of our older Olympic tracks while we still have the chance. Thomas Heibel, 28th spot. Now, how is that going to break the tie with Dorin Grigore of Romania? We'll wait to find out.
Little tap, but basically not bad. 2 taps. There's the skid. That was costly. 5 hits on the wall, and it's straight away that's bend away.
Made his World Cup debut on this track a couple of seasons ago. He's had 2 World Cup races this year in St. Moritz and here. And this is the man with whom he's tied, Romania's Dorin Grigore. He was first in the start draw. The other Romanian sled drew number 34. So they were first and last, bookending the field, if you like. But now, Grigore tied with Thomas Heibel for 29th. Great view of the team squatting on the start line, ready to explode into action. That 3 or 4 second burst of power that accelerates the sled down the track. 4:99 getaway. They were 4:98 in the first heat. That gives them an advantage over the Norwegians, who started 5:21 as they did in the first heat, but a little tap coming onto the straight.
But he was cleaner there than the Norwegian sled, but he doesn't have the same speed as the Norwegian sled.
A little wavy through the Kreisel. What's he got down the bottom? Neat, tidy line. 29th place at the moment. Hasn't caught Thomas Heibel. 27 speed at the bottom. Is he going to get close at the line? Oh, he overhauls him by 1300ths of a second.
So, start time, he was 2200ths better to start. That's where he won that race against the Norwegians.
Yep. So they've outstarted the Norwegians by 4500ths in 2 starts, and he's 1300ths in front of him.
Little skid, but you know, he didn't let the mistake compound. He's skidding here. 1, 2, 3. 2 hits is the norm. 3 you can get away with.
He let that skid turn into a corner around the bend away, didn't he? Didn't fight it.
Been down the track before.
Dragan Cilic in 31st place, and this is the battle of the minor nations, really. We've got Norway, Romania, Croatia, Poland, and second Romanian sled all in here. And we've just scratched Serbia's Vuk Radjenovic. So we will end up with no more than 32 sleds going into tomorrow's final day of competition. The Croatian team may not have the latest kit and latest equipment, but they have as big heart as anybody else. 497 getaway.
And I hope their president, Ivan Sola, is watching the broadcast. Even we know you pull magic rabbits out of a hat to make all this happen. These are pretty good lines.
Yep. Silic and his team, very much part-time athletes. They have to have real jobs in the real world as well. Coming to the World Championships to compete is one of the real highlights of their season.
Silic's a teacher. You know, you wouldn't know he's at such a disadvantage the way he walks around the track. Big smile, friendly.
Yeah.
Great sportsman.
That's one of the great things about bobsledding is you're all racing the same track. You're not racing each other until you've actually beaten the track.
He just went ahead of both the Norwegian and both sleds.
Yep, went ahead of Norway and Romania.
By 300s.
So he's picked off the sleds that were tied in front of him. That's a good run, 49.53.
Hi, Martin. See you tomorrow.
Hey, Dradson, see
Thanks,
you
buddy.
tomorrow, man.
Nice lines, good run. Pick a couple of the developing nations off. Good job.
Well,
Good lines.
good run, good drive from Dradson Silic, maybe. See, are they high on life, these guys? Absolutely.
That's what the bobsled sport will do. This is a very disappointing first heat for the Polish team.
Yeah, Maciej Luti definitely had all the moves in the two-man. Really impressive first week of the World Championships. Unfortunately, didn't get the run they wanted in the first heat of the four-man.
Just can't understand it. He's better in the four-man.
Well, 494 start, only 28th in the field, so that doesn't help much. And the red jacket behind them, their coach.
Jānis Minins, he's the former Latvian World Cup winner. Told the story in the first heat. He won the pre-Olympic test for Latvia on the Olympic track in Whistler 2009. Only one person in 16 tries has ever won the pre-Olympic and the gold medal. That was Harold Shodai. It's a jinx almost, and Jānis Minins won it. And then when he got to the Olympics, 2 days before the Olympics, had an appendicitis attack and tried to compete, couldn't. But he's now coaching the Polish, and he's got a lot of expertise for the Polish.
Well, let's see where this is going to leave them. 31st place on the split times at the moment.
Understand. This is pretty
And he is
experienced driver.
struggling for speed. 25th best speed. That's not too bad at the bottom. Will he pick anybody off? Yes. Gets in front of Thomas Heibel. No. Yeah. 10th of a second in front of Thomas
300s
Heibel.
behind the Romanians. He should be up there in 23rd, 24th place minimum. So this is a very disappointing day for the red and white.
Yep. Well, red and white of Croatia moves up the order. Red and white of Poland moved up the order, but Dradson Silic jumped 3 spots. Maciej Luti only 1. Maciej Luti was only 500s behind Dradson Silic, and he's now 0.2 of a second. So the final sled on ice, no Vuk Radjenovic of Serbia, will be Maria Constantin of Romania. There's Olivia Vilt, there's Andrea Grecu, who's another two-man driver for the Romanians, and Erika Halle. They raced in the women's competition last weekend. They raced in the team competition, part of an international Romano-German team. They took a bronze medal. And even the next day, Maria Constantin couldn't wipe the smile off her face. She said, I can't believe it. We ended up in the medals. And now here they are. They made history in the first heat, the first ever female crew in the four-man bobsleigh World Championships.
What was the name of the two-man driver for Poland or for Romania last week? We don't have those numbers in front of us, but he won the rookie trophy. It's been given away since 1960.
Yes. I'm going to have to look in my bag. Mihai Temescu 18 years old and looked about 12, but yeah, finished safely at the end of the World Championships.
Well, the women's bobsled four-man, I mean, there's reason to discuss why it couldn't be in, but there's just not enough participants. A lot of teams struggle with finances, and the other question is, probably need some lighter type of a sled or a smaller sled to accommodate the smaller size. Weight distribution is a lot to do with how the four-mans come down the track.
Again, nice lines from Maria Constantin. She's been driving the four-man for the last couple of seasons. This isn't just a one-off for her. She's done a number of four-man races.
Paul Diago.
Yeah. Well, you know, at this end of the field, like at the very front, these athletes compete because they love doing it. It's all heart. The difference here, compared to the Germans who lead, is budget. Budget, kit, training, backup, all of that. That all comes with success that brings money. And there you see Johannes Lochner. And look, he pulls out 1.5 meters, getting on for 2 meters on her in just that 50 meters of Kreisel. And that's the
different lines through there.
Different line, different kit, more all-up weight in the sled, faster start. It's every single element that you've got to have gelling perfectly to win a gold medal. And Johannes Lochner leads overnight, but his 1/1300th of a second lead has come down by 1/10. He leads by 300ths of a second.
It sets up for an epic day of racing tomorrow, because Francisco Friedrich has never had a double gold, and he's only 300ths away from achieving that tomorrow.
And our world champion lies in 3rd place, just 1/10 from victory. Holcomb, you can't count him out of the medals, or Nico Walter. If he tidies up his runs, he could be in the top 3 as well. You have to look at those top 5 as absolute medal potentials. And Justin Cripps in 6th position might move up a spot or 2. 2 heats to go tomorrow. The full field goes in heat 3. And then we go 20 down to 1 to claim the medals and tidy up the final day of sliding in the Bobsleigh and Skeleton World Championships as we round out the four-man, the blue ribboned event of the fortnight. Don't forget, tomorrow morning also we will bring men's skeleton to its conclusion. Bradley Hall crashed out, the team hopefully all A-OK. Vukra Jedinovic pulled out, and that seems to be an injury-struck Serbian team. So our 34 become 32, our 1/1300ths of a second lead becomes 300ths. Are you going to miss this tomorrow? Are you mad? Join John Morgan, me, Martin Haven, and the IBSF TV crew for the final day of action. Join the world champions beside the track, crown the world champion on the track. We'll see you then. Bye for now.